The air smelled of cardboard and second chances. Riley stood in the middle of her new apartment, heart pounding like a drumroll, watching the mover's muscles flex under her tank top as she hauled in the last box. "Where do you want it?" the mover asked, her voice low and teasing, and Riley's breath caught, her finger trembling as she pointed. Not at the floor but at herself. She froze, cheeks burning, the words a reckless confession she hadn't meant to spill. Sam, the name stitched on the mover's shirt, raised an eyebrow, her green eyes glinting with curiosity and something else, something that made Riley's stomach flip. The moment hung between them, fragile as a soap bubble, threatening to pop under the weight of Riley's racing thoughts. It was August in Portland, Oregon, and Riley Harper, 26, had just fled Boston to escape a life that felt like a cage. Her family's expectations, her ex-fiancé's betrayal, the suffocating weight of shoulds. She'd packed them all away and driven cross-country for a fresh start. This apartment, a third-floor walk-up with creaky floors and a view of the Willamette River, was her blank canvas. But now, standing in front of Sam, she felt like she'd just painted her heart on the walls. Sam set the box down gently, her movements deliberate, like she was handling something precious. "Bold move," she said, a smile tugging at her lips. "Most people just point at the corner." Her voice was warm like whiskey on a cold night, and Riley wanted to drown in it. She laughed nervously, brushing a strand of auburn hair behind her ear, her freckled cheeks still flushed. I didn't mean that," Riley stammered, though part of her screamed that she did. I meant the box. Over there. By the couch." She gestured wildly toward a ratty love seat, the only furniture she'd brought besides her mattress. Sam's smile widened and she leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, studying Riley like she was a puzzle worth solving. "Uh-huh," Sam said, unconvinced. "I'm Sam, by the way. Sam Carter." She extended a hand, her grip firm but gentle when Riley took it. The touch sent a jolt through Riley, like static electricity, and she pulled back too quickly, her fingers tingling. "Riley Harper," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. She wanted to say more, to explain the chaos of her heart, but the words stuck like glue. Instead, she busied herself with a box labeled kitchen, tearing it open to avoid Sam's gaze. But Sam didn't move. She stood there, all confidence and quiet strength, her short black hair slightly mussed from the day's work. "So, Riley Harper," Sam said, her tone playful but probing, "what's a girl like you doing in a place like this? New in town?" She gestured at the bare apartment, the walls still echoing with the emptiness of a life not yet lived. Riley hesitated. She could lie, say she was just chasing a job or a whim, but something about Sam's eyes, sharp, kind, and impossibly green, made her want to tell the truth. "Starting over," she said finally, her voice soft but steady. "I needed something new. Somewhere I could be me." Sam nodded, like she understood more than Riley had said. "Portland's good for that," she replied. "It's got room for all kinds of you." She pushed off the doorframe, picking up another box with ease. "Where do you want this one? For real this time?" Riley laughed, the sound breaking the tension. "By the window," she said, pointing properly now. As Sam moved, Riley stole glances, noticing the way her tank top hugged her shoulders, the faint scar on her forearm, the easy grace in her steps. She wondered what Sam's story was, what brought her to this job. This moment, this collision with Riley's unsteady heart. The rest of the move went quickly. Sam worked efficiently, stacking boxes and offering small talk that felt like a lifeline. She talked about Portland's coffee shops, the best hiking trails, the quirky pride festivals that lit up the city every June. Riley listened, hanging on to every word, her shyness melting under Sam's warmth. By the time the last box was placed, the sun was dipping low, painting the apartment in shades of gold and pink. Sam wiped her hands on her cargo pants and handed Riley a clipboard to sign. "All done," she said, but she lingered, her gaze flickering to Riley's lips for a split second. Riley's heart stuttered. Was that real? Did she imagine it? "Thanks," Riley said, scribbling her name, her hand shaking slightly. She wanted to say more. Ask Sam to stay, to grab a coffee, to keep talking until the stars came out. But fear clamped her mouth shut. She'd spent years hiding her truth, shrinking herself to fit her family's mold. What if this was too much, too soon? Sam tipped her head, her smile softening. "See you around, Riley Harper." she said, and then she was gone, the door clicking shut behind her. Riley stood alone, the apartment suddenly too quiet, her fingers still tingling where she'd pointed at herself. She sank onto the love seat, staring at the boxes, her mind replaying Sam's smile, her voice, her eyes. That night Riley couldn't sleep. She lay on her mattress, the city humming outside, and thought about Sam. She thought about the life she wanted. Not the one her parents planned, not the one her ex had shattered, but one where she could be bold, where she could point at herself and mean it. And somewhere across the city, she wondered if Sam was thinking of her too. The coffee shop smelled of roasted beans and rain-soaked jackets. A typical Portland morning. Riley sat at a corner table, her laptop open but untouched, her mind stuck on Sam's teasing smile from 2 days ago. She'd come to this cafe, recommended by Sam during their brief conversation, to feel closer to the moment that had shaken her awake. She sipped her latte, scanning the room for a glimpse of tousled black hair or sharp green eyes. It was ridiculous, she knew. Sam was a mover, probably hauling boxes across town, not lingering in cafes waiting for Riley to muster her courage. But hope was a stubborn thing, and Riley's heart clung to it like a lifeline. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mother. "When are you coming home? You can't run forever." Riley's stomach twisted. Home meant Boston, meant judgment, meant a life where she'd never pointed at herself. She ignored the message, her fingers tightening around her mug. She wasn't running anymore, she was building. The bell above the door chimed and Riley's head snapped up. There she was. Sam in a leather jacket and jeans, shaking rain from her hair like a dog after a swim. Their eyes met and Sam's face lit up, that same playful grin spreading like wildfire. Riley's heart did a somersault. "Fancy seeing you here," Sam said, sliding into the chair across from her without asking. "This your new haunt, Riley Harper?" Her voice was warm, teasing, and it made Riley feel like the only person in the room. "Ah yeah," Riley said, her shyness creeping back. "You mentioned this place. Thought I'd check it out." She gestured at her laptop, a weak excuse for her presence. Sam leaned forward, her elbows on the table, her gaze steady and curious. "Good choice," Sam said. "They make the best oat milk latte in town. You vegan, or just trendy?" Her tone was light, but her eyes searched Riley's, looking for something deeper. Riley laughed, relaxing a fraction. "Not vegan. Just trying new things." She meant the coffee, but the words felt heavier, like they carried her hopes for this city, this life, this moment with Sam. They talked easily, the conversation flowing like the river outside. Sam shared stories of her childhood in Seattle, her love for hiking, her dream of owning a woodworking shop someday. Riley opened up about her art degree, her sketches tucked away in boxes, her fear of showing them to anyone. "You should show me sometime," Sam said, her voice soft but earnest. "I bet they're incredible." Riley blushed, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. No one had ever asked to see her work with such genuine interest. Felt like a gift. The rain stopped and Sam glanced at her watch. "Gotta run," she said, standing. "Another move across town." "But," she hesitated, then pulled a pen from her pocket and scribbled on a napkin. "My number. In case you need help unpacking. Or, pointing at stuff." She winked and Riley's heart flipped again. Riley clutched the napkin like a treasure, watching Sam leave. She felt alive, electric, like she'd been asleep for years and was finally waking up. That evening she texted Sam. "Thanks for the coffee shop tip. Maybe I'll need help with those boxes soon." Her thumb hovered over the send button, fear whispering that she was moving too fast. But she hit send, and when Sam replied with a "anytime, Riley Harper," she grinned like a fool. Days turned into weeks, and their texts became a rhythm. Sam sent pictures of her hikes, Riley shared doodles from her sketchbook. They met for coffee again, then for a walk along the river, their shoulders brushing as they talked about everything and nothing. Riley felt herself unfolding, her guarded heart softening under Sam's steady presence. But doubt lingered. Riley's ex, Lauren, had promised forever, only to leave when Riley came out to her family. The fallout, her parents' disapproval, the whispers at church, had left scars. What if Sam was just being kind? What if Riley was reading too much into those lingering glances, those teasing smiles? One evening they ended up at a dive bar, neon lights buzzing overhead. Sam leaned close, her voice cutting through the music. You ever gonna tell me what you're running from? She asked, her eyes gentle but piercing. Riley froze, her beer halfway to her lips. She wanted to tell Sam everything. Her fears, her hopes, the way Sam made her feel like she could breathe again. But the words caught, tangled in old wounds. Instead, she reached for Sam's hand, her fingers trembling. I'm not running anymore, she said, her voice barely audible. Sam's hand tightened around hers, warm and sure, and for a moment, the world was just them. Two women holding on in a crowded bar, hearts beating in sync. The air was crisp, the leaves crunching under their boots as Riley and Sam hiked a trail in Forest Park. It was their first official date, though neither had called it that. Sam had suggested the hike, and Riley, nervous but eager, had agreed, her sketchbook tucked in her backpack just in case. They walked in comfortable silence, the forest a cathedral of green and gold. Sam pointed out a hidden waterfall, her enthusiasm infectious, and Riley found herself laughing more than she had in years. She felt free, like the weight of her past was loosening with every step. At a clearing, they stopped to rest, sitting on a fallen log. Sam's shoulder pressed against Riley's, warm and grounding. You're different out here, Sam said, her voice soft. Less guarded. She turned, her green eyes searching Riley's face. I like it. Riley's heart raced. She wanted to close the distance, to kiss Sam and let the forest hold their secret. But fear clawed at her, fear of rejection, of ruining this fragile thing between them. Instead, she pulled out her sketchbook, her hands shaking as she flipped to a drawing of the river, its lines bold and fluid. Sam's eyes widened. Riley, this is wow. She traced the page with her finger, careful not to smudge the pencil. You're really good. Why don't you show this to people? Her voice was full of awe, and it made Riley's chest ache. I don't know, Riley admitted. I guess I'm scared it's not enough. That I'm not enough. The confession slipped out, raw and unguarded, and she looked away, her cheeks burning. Sam reached for her hand, her touch steady. You're more than enough, she said, her voice fierce. And anyone who made you feel otherwise doesn't deserve you. The words hit Riley like a wave, washing away years of doubt. She looked at Sam, her hazel eyes brimming with tears, and for the first time she believed it. They kissed then, tentative at first, then deeper, the forest swallowing their soft gasps. It was electric, a spark that lit up every corner of Riley's heart. When they pulled back, Sam's smile was radiant, and Riley felt like she could fly. But the past wasn't done with her. That night, Riley's phone lit up with a voicemail from her mother. Your father's sick. You need to come home. The words were a punch, dragging Riley back to the life she'd fled. She listened to the message again, her hands shaking, and didn't tell Sam. Not yet. She wanted to hold on to this happiness a little longer. Their dates continued, movie nights, late-night talks, stolen kisses in Sam's truck. Riley felt herself falling hard and fast, but the voicemail haunted her. She hadn't told Sam about her family, about the years of hiding who she was. What if Sam couldn't handle it? What if love wasn't enough? One night, curled up on Sam's couch, Riley finally broke. My dad's sick, she said, her voice cracking. My mom wants me to go back to Boston. Sam's arms tightened around her, but she didn't speak, just listened as Riley poured out her story. The pressure to be perfect, the pain of coming out, the ex who'd left her to face it alone. I don't know if I can go back, Riley whispered. But I don't know if I can stay away either. Sam kissed her forehead, her touch a quiet promise. You don't have to decide tonight, Sam said. But whatever you choose, I'm here. Okay. Riley nodded, tears falling, and clung to Sam like an anchor in a storm. Riley stood at the airport, her suitcase at her feet, her heart torn in two. She'd booked a flight to Boston, telling herself it was just a visit, just to see her father. But the weight of her mother's expectations pressed down on her, heavy as the fog rolling over the tarmac. She hadn't told Sam everything. Not about the late-night calls from her mother, urging her to fix herself, to come home and be the daughter they wanted. Not about the fear that Boston would swallow her whole, erasing the woman she'd become with Sam. She'd only said she'd be back in a week, and Sam had kissed her goodbye, her eyes full of trust Riley wasn't sure she deserved. Boston was a time capsule. Her childhood home smelled the same, lavender and old books, but the air felt stifling. Her father, frail in his hospital bed, smiled weakly when she arrived. You look good, kid. he said, his voice raspy. Her mother, though, was a wall of disapproval, her words sharp. You can't keep running from who you are. Riley wanted to scream that she wasn't running, that she'd found herself in Portland, in Sam's arms. But she stayed silent, nodding through her mother's lectures, visiting her father daily. Each night she texted Sam, her messages a lifeline. Miss you. Can't wait to come home. Sam's replies were steady, warm, but Riley felt the distance growing. Not in miles but in the secrets she kept. One evening her mother found her sketchbook, filled with drawings of Sam. Her smile, her hands, her eyes. This isn't you, her mother said, tossing the book aside. You're confused, Riley. You need to stay here, get help. The words cut deep, reopening wounds Riley thought had healed. She cried herself to sleep, doubting everything, her love, her choices, her courage. Back in Portland, Sam sensed the shift. Riley's texts grew shorter, her calls less frequent. Sam didn't push, but her worry grew. She threw herself into work, hauling boxes, trying to outrun the fear that Riley might not come back. She visited the coffee shop, the river, the places they'd shared, hoping to feel Riley's presence. Riley's week in Boston stretched into 2. Her father stabilized, but her mother's pressure didn't. At a family dinner, her cousin, her only ally, pulled her aside. You're glowing when you talk about her, he said. Don't let them take that from you. His words were a spark, reigniting Riley's resolve. She booked a flight back to Portland, her heart pounding with determination. She was done hiding. She called Sam from the airport, her voice trembling but sure. I'm coming home, she said. And I need to tell you everything. Sam's silence was heavy, but she said, I'll be here. And Riley clung to those words like a promise. When Riley landed, Sam was waiting at the gate, her green eyes searching. They didn't speak, just hugged, fierce and desperate, like they could meld into one. In Sam's truck, Riley poured out her story, her family's rejection, her fear of losing Sam, her fight to be herself. Sam listened, her hand on Riley's, her jaw tight with anger at the pain Riley had endured. I'm not going anywhere, Sam said when Riley finished. But you need to let me in. All the way. Riley nodded, tears streaming, and kissed Sam, pouring every unspoken promise into it. Riley's apartment was no longer just boxes and bare walls. It was home now, filled with sketches on the walls, plants by the window, and Sam's laughter echoing through the rooms. They'd been together 6 months, navigating the messy, beautiful dance of love. But Riley still carried scars, and Sam knew it. One evening, Riley showed Sam her latest sketch. A portrait of them, hands intertwined, faces lit by sunlight. This is us, Riley said, her voice soft but steady. This is what I want. Sam's eyes glistened and she pulled Riley close, whispering, Me too. But the past wasn't done. Riley's mother called, her voice cold, Your father's worse. You need to come back. Riley froze, the phone trembling in her hand. She'd gone to Boston once, faced the weight of her family's judgment, and barely made it out. Could she do it again? Sam sat with her, their hands clasped. You don't have to go, Sam said. But if you do, I'm coming with you. Riley's heart swelled. She'd never had someone stand by her like this, unwavering and fierce. They booked flights together, a united front against whatever awaited. Boston was colder this time, the air heavy with tension. Riley's mother barely acknowledged Sam, her disapproval a silent storm. But Sam didn't flinch. She held Riley's hand in the hospital, made her laugh with bad jokes, and stood up to her mother's barbed comments with quiet strength. Riley's happy, Sam said one night, her voice calm but firm. Isn't that enough? Riley's father, weaker now, took her hand one afternoon. I see how you look at her, he said, his voice faint. I was wrong to push you away. Be happy, kid. Tears fell as Riley hugged him, a weight lifting she hadn't known she carried. When her father passed a week later, Riley grieved, but she wasn't alone. Sam was there, holding her through the tears, the funeral, the long nights. Back in Portland, they built a life, messy, imperfect, but theirs. Riley started showing her art at local galleries, her confidence growing. Sam opened her woodworking shop, her dream taking shape. One evening in their apartment, Sam pulled Riley close, her voice teasing. Where do you want it? She asked, holding a tiny wooden box she'd carved. Riley laughed, pointing to herself just like that first day. Sam opened the box, revealing a ring. A simple band with a tiny rainbow inlay. "Marry me," Sam said, her voice shaking with love. Riley's tears fell as she nodded, kissing Sam with every piece of her heart. They weren't perfect, but they were enough. Two women who'd found each other in a world that tried to keep them apart. Their wedding was small, in a Portland park, surrounded by friends and chosen family. Riley's cousin came, his smile wide, and a few sketches hung on easels telling their story. As they danced under fairy lights, Riley whispered, "I pointed at myself that day and you saw me." Sam kissed her soft and sure and said, "I'll always see you." Their love wasn't a cure for every wound, but it was a promise to keep pointing at themselves, to keep choosing each other, no matter what the world threw their way. And in that promise, Riley found her home. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.